guys, welcome back to the channel by bymwu. I'm bymwu, aka Marianne, and it's a long weekend here where I live, and for some reason that always means I suddenly have a very big urge to vlog. So we're gonna try making like a chatty little vlog today. I specifically want to swatch this weekend, so I thought I would bring you guys along and do a little bit of like a swatch party. If you have a project you need a swatch for, or you just want to knit along with me with whatever you're working on, we can do like a little bit of a nitty fun time. So that is the plan for this weekend. We'll see how it goes. I realized in my podcasts, I usually very heavily focus on both finished objects and whips, and I don't really talk about like new things very much. I sometimes will like throw a little bit in at the end, especially if I recently bought yarn. I don't know, I do a lot of my planning off camera and then suddenly have the urge to cast on just like out of the blue oftentimes. So I am at the beginning of 2 projects and I thought I would bring you guys along. These 2 projects have been something that I don't think I've ever mentioned because they were not really anything I was thinking about when I was last filming the podcast episode, but a lot has happened since the last podcast episode in terms of planning for projects and whatnot. I have purchased a ton of yarn, probably too much yarn. I know the beginning of this year I said I was going to focus on my stash, and yeah, it hasn't been going too well, but that's okay. We're having a lot of fun right now. I am really excited about all the yarns that I've picked up. Hopefully with all the shopping settling, I will be able to now like prioritize stash post all of the projects that I just brought in, because yeah, I have a lot of yarn. All of it has plans. Sometimes the like start this project bites me in the butt and I just like really want to start it and I don't have the yarn for it, so I go buy the yarn and it always snowballs. And so yeah, we got a lot of new yarn. I will talk about that in a bit. So what are the projects, you might be wondering? I have 2, like I said. One is a Colorwork Cowl test knit. It's actually for the same designer that designed the Iris sweater, which I recently discovered and became like mesmerized by it. I saw it maybe the end of January, beginning of February, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I really wanted to cast that on. I actually bought all the yarn for that, and I was gonna swatch for it, but then she put out a test knit call for this cowl, and I was like, you know what, for funsies, let's just apply. I honestly didn't think I was gonna get it, and I did. So then I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna make a cowl now. So I'm gonna make a Colorwork cowl first, and then we're gonna come back to the Iris sweater. I'm excited for both of them, and I'm really excited to use this yarn. It uses the same yarn for both, which is this Holst Garn Supersoft. It's these tiny little like cakes. They're so cute. These are fingering weight, 100% wool. I don't think I can read it. It says you get 287 meters per 50 grams, and they come in a bunch of beautiful colors. I think they're primarily used for color work, and it seems to be something that the designer uses a lot because she used it both for her, like I said, Iris sweater, as well as this cowl that's coming out, along with some other projects. It's a really interesting wool. It feels really rustic. I have this suspicion that it will bloom really beautifully, and I don't know why, but I have this gut feeling that it will become a new favorite yarn, and I went crazy. I bought enough for the cowl, enough for the Iris pullover, and then 2 more sweaters quantities worth because I have a problem. I honestly, yeah, you know what? I'm not even gonna try to justify it at this point. We're just gonna be honest. We have a yarn buying problem. Hi, I'm Marianne and I have a problem. Anyways, so where was I going with this? She released this beautiful cowl test knit call, and it doesn't have a name yet, so I'm gonna have to keep calling it Colorwork Cowl or something like that because the pattern doesn't have an official name. But it's a reversible cowl that has a geometric like colorwork motif on one side, and then the other side is striped. Her original sample is like a dark blue with light silver on the stripe side, and then the light silver or gray, I guess, on the colorwork side with like blue and a little bit of green brown motifing design. It's really beautiful. I actually wanted to originally do the exact version, except I was looking at my winter gear and I don't have a lot of blue nor things that would go with blue, like not a lot of browns and stuff. A lot of my winter stuff is like eggplant purple, which is fine. I like the color, but I don't know. I didn't think it would go great with the blue. So I'm pivoting a little bit and I'm gonna do a more purpley themed version instead. These are the colors that I chose. It's gonna be a little hard. There's quite a few of them. Can you see that? Those are the colors. 2 of them on the top here. Both the creams are repeats. They're both in the color Nougat. And then the rest of the colors are like these purple, orangey brown, green browns. I think it's beautiful. I'll go through each color one by one in a short moment, but I'm really excited to use this yarn. I think it's gonna be a really interesting experience because I've never done fingering weight color work. And I don't know, I'm just really, really excited to see how this blooms because it feels really like rough and scratchy right now. I'm like trying to test if it's scratchy. It just feels really like rough, to be honest. Scratchy isn't even the right word. It doesn't even feel that itchy, but I just have this feeling that it's gonna be luxurious post-blocking. So the colors that I chose. Main color on both sides for mine are gonna be in this off-white oatmeal color. This is in the color Nougat. On the stripe side, I'm gonna stripe it with the color Truffle, which is this beautiful blue-brown. I actually was really surprised when I saw this in person. On the screen, on the computer, it looked way more just brown toned, but I got it in person and it definitely is like a blue-brown marl. I don't know if you can see that. It's gorgeous. So yeah, that's the stripes on the one side. And then the other side with the colorwork motifing, I'm mostly gonna have these 4 colors here. The dark purple here is called Cloudberry. Also very pretty. This lighter purple is called Crocus. I was hoping that this was gonna be a little bit lighter. It's gonna be okay. I just didn't actually have that many purple like options. They have a lot more blues, but I was hoping that the lighter purple would be a tiny bit lighter, but I think they'll still work really well together. And then the 2 other accent colors that I got is this color called Brass, which is like a yellowy brown orange. It's like a dark mustard color almost. And then this really beautiful blue-green, which is called Blue Sage. It's actually, I think, a perfect name for it because it's very blue sagey color. Those are the colors that I chose for the Colorwork Cowl. I'm really excited to see how that goes. We will be doing that swatch sometime this weekend. The other project that I hope to swatch for this weekend is a cable knit sweater, and this is on request of Ryan. So Ryan is my husband. He is the most knit-worthy person in my life right now that is not an animal. I would otherwise knit a lot for Juby, but she doesn't really need sweaters. So sweater knitting for Ryan it is. And I had finished the halibut sweater for him for Christmas last year, and he wears it a lot. He actually wears all the sweaters that I made for him quite a bit, and it makes me really happy. And given that he wears them so much and he seems to enjoy them so much, I feel very honored and want to keep on making him more. So I asked him what he was kind of hoping for next, and he specifically said he wanted a cream colored cable knit sweater. Now, I haven't actually done an all over cable. I'm looking at all my sweaters right now. I don't think I have. I was originally gonna do the Arctic Light sweater by Veronica Lindbergh. I started it. It's kind of been on hold for a while. So this will be my first full cable knit sweater, which is okay. And I didn't know what vision he was going for, so I had him go on Ravelry and pick a pattern that he liked, and that was what I was gonna make. He ended up deciding on the Fika sweater by Sari Nordlund, and it's a beautiful all over cable knit sweater that's a circular yoke. It mostly is for women, but I don't see why it wouldn't fit a guy. I think I might have to size up a little bit because he has broader shoulders, but I think it's a beautiful sweater. It's not one that I personally would ever knit for myself, but he is really excited for it. So I was like, okay. I looked at the recommended yarn, and it's one that I've always wanted to try. So I had him pick a color, and he picked this one. This is the Rerum Natura, I think is what it's called. I used to call it the Rerum Natura, which I think is, I'm probably saying it wrong regardless. The Gilliatt or the Gilliatt this one. And it's their worsted weight 100% wool. The color he chose is Poivre Blanc. My French is bad, I apologize. And it's a beautiful oatmeal color. I think he was hoping for a little bit more of like an off-white cream, but I showed it to him and he seems pretty excited about this one too. So it's very similar to the Nougat that I got from the Holst Garn. Anyways, so yeah, I am excited to cast this one on because I really want a cable knit sweater to make. Maybe to own too, but this one's gonna be for him. We'll do my own later. I've always wanted to try this yarn. I've always wanted to try a Sari Nordlund pattern. I have never knit one of hers. If I'm being totally honest, I am a little nervous. Not because I don't have faith in her. She's an amazing designer. I think her patterns are beautiful and she's quite well known in like the knitting space. I've just never made one of hers. I don't really have a good reason. I've had plans to make a whole bunch. The thing that makes me nervous is last spring I was going to cast on the Colette pullover by her and I could not get gauge. I like made 3 or 4 swatches and everyone just like wouldn't work, and it was on the project page and it seemed to be like a pretty common thing where hitting gauge for that specific pattern was very difficult. So I'm a little anxious about swatching for this one. I hope it doesn't happen again, but I was scrolling through the project pages on Ravelry for the Fika sweater and it seems like it's okay. A lot of people, actually no one that I came across like mentioned having a hard time reaching gauge, so should be okay. The other thing that I also am a little anxious about is that I've heard that her yarn recommendation, like estimate amounts, have sometimes been off on the like too little side. And I am someone who does not play yarn chicken. I do not do yarn chicken. It's just not something that I care to even think about. I know some people like will try and use every last scrap of yarn, and I'm just someone who likes to have an obscene amount of excess, so I don't have to worry about that. I have a lot of anxiety when it comes to like managing amounts, whether that's on my battery or the gas in my car, and I just don't want to do yarn chicken. So I did buy an extra skein in anticipation. I think it will be okay, but I am a little anxious about it if I'm being honest, because yeah, I just don't do yarn chicken, and if this forces me to do yarn chicken, I'm gonna like freak out. So hopefully that will be okay. Those are my 2 like kind of gripes with it right now. I'm gonna push through because the swatch one, I'll be able to figure out early on if I hit gauge or not. The yarn chicken one, we'll just have to deal with if it gets there. I hope buying an extra skein would be enough. Fingers crossed. Those are the 2 projects. I hope they sound interesting. I'm really excited for them. And we'll swatch for them over the course of this weekend, because what else are you gonna do on a weekend where you're gonna be snowed in? Because I think the forecast says we're getting like 20 to 40 centimeters of snow tomorrow. So it's gonna be a cozy weekend in. I got projects to start and we're super excited. So yeah. That's the projects. Next time I see you, hopefully we'll be swatching. Actually, quickly before I go, I'll mention that I'm pretty sure for the Fika sweater, I'm supposed to do it on 4mm needles, so we'll start with those. And then for the cowl, she actually has you do 3 different sizes and you change them in like sections to make more of like a funnel shape. I think the swatch is on the middle size, which I think is 3.5. I have to go make sure I have those needles available because those are probably my most used needle sizes. I for sure have 3 sets, maybe 2 sets of 4mm needles, and I think all my other projects right now are on 4mm needles, so I need to go find them. I apologize if you thought this was gonna be more of a fun, like, bring you guys along vlog. I tried to film it, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. Something about filming myself doing ambient things just, oh no, I dropped a pin, feels wrong. So we're gonna keep trying in the future, but for today, we're just gonna do a chatty one. I needed to pick up this pin before I forgot, otherwise I probably would have stepped on it later, and that would not have been good. Okay, let's talk about the swatches. Let's go with the Colorwork one first because it is gorgeous. Here is a quick look. First off, I do not like swatching in the round. I know it's very important, especially when it comes to colorwork, because 1, it's just probably going to be annoying to swatch flat colorwork. I can't imagine doing so. And then 2, typically people purl a little looser. I think mine are fairly close, but I do purl a tiny bit looser. So I was good and I swatched them around. It's really hard to manage like the edge stitches personally, I find, because like they're just not anchored to anything and so they unravel a lot. This yarn's really nice because it's kind of like toothy. It doesn't unravel at all. I thought about maybe felting the edges so it wouldn't unravel, but it seems to be pretty stable. But this is what the swatch looks like. The bottom part is the Colorwork section. The top part is the striping. You can get a sense of my colors together. Okay, so first things first, I did the Colorwork section on 3mm needles, and then the striped section on 3.5, if I'm not mistaken. No, I lied. I did the Colorwork on 3.5 and I did the flat section on 3.25. I do think I need to size down on the flat like stripe section a little bit more. The recommended actually was 3mm needles and I thought that would be too small, so I sized up to 3.25, but I think 3mm actually is the right way to go. But I did hit gauge for the Colorwork section, so that's good. That's good news. The gauge for this one is 28 stitches by 36 rows. I actually didn't check the row size. I need to do that one. But stitches were a go. Now, I have some gripes. Is that the right word? I have some concerns with the colors. And I don't think I'm gonna re-swatch, but I find that in this section here where it's like the green, purple, orange, there's like very minimum contrast, and that's on me. I just happen to pick colors that are basically all the same saturation. That's the right word. And so when I took a picture of my swatch in black and white, basically this whole section, you can't tell like where any of the stitches are. So I am going to combat that by one, changing out this brass color into a little bit of a lighter yellow. I'm gonna use this color that's Maize, which I had originally purchased for the iris pullover, but I did the math and I should have enough to do both the iris pullover and the cowl if I use this plus plenty extra. So I'm gonna do that switch out and hopefully that will add a little bit of definition to this top section here. But can you even see the brown? Like barely. Then I messaged the designer to see if I could also tweak the colors a little bit. My ask was to maybe, instead of using this lighter purple in this area, to use the darker to bring a little bit more of a darker contrast in. She hasn't responded yet. I'm also totally okay if she says no, because this is at the end of the day a test knit and she probably wants like yarn meterage and all of that, and if I switch that up on her, that might mess things up. So I'm totally okay with her saying no, but I thought I would ask just in case, because I've historically had pretty good luck with test knits and the designer being okay with a few mods, but I also totally understand if she doesn't want me to go that route. So I'm waiting for her to respond. The test knit pattern doesn't actually get to us until Wednesday, so I can't start anyways, but I'm hoping at minimum using this yellow instead of this orangey brown will bring some brightness to that section that it really needs. And then if she says I'm okay to use the darker instead of the lighter purple for some of it, I think that will be also really helpful to kind of make some more contrast, because right now I think the swatch is beautiful, but like it just looks like a washout of like mushiness in that section, especially the black and white version. I'll stick the photo here so you can see what I mean. I really do love the way how the Nougat and the Truffle look together, so I'm really excited about that stripe patterning. The little blue flecks in the brown really show through in a really subtle marled looking way, and I mentioned earlier in a podcast that I'm obsessed with marled right now, so this really hits the spot. But I'm really happy with this. I cannot wait to get started on the actual project, and I am excited. I like have a lot of fun doing the color work. I'm a lot slower at it than normal knitting, but it's really satisfying, and I don't know, having to like work with both hands, it's just a little bit more complication that it keeps it engaging. I find that when I do color work like this, I cannot like watch TV or listen to a podcast or something, because it's like a lot of concentration. So that's what it looks like. I'll keep you guys updated on what the designer says about the switch, but I do think at minimum, this kind of change will be good. That is that swatch. The second swatch is this little guy for the fika pullover. I think it's officially called the fika pullover, not the fika sweater. Nevertheless, it is a sweater of some sort. This is just 5x5 cabling, and I think this occurs in like mostly the body section. And I am pretty happy about this. To be honest, I haven't actually measured if I hit gauge, so we can do that together. Hold on, let me set you guys up to do that. Okay, is that better? Welcome to the atrocity. That's my desk. You can see that I'm wearing PJ pants and there's doob down there. I'm just gonna grab my metal ruler. I love using a metal ruler that starts at 0 for measuring swatches. I find that they're less finicky than plastic and like the fabric pull-out ones. I don't know where you can get these, to be honest though, because I stole this from my dad. I actually have 2 of them. I stole them a while ago. I am obsessed with them. I love them so much. I don't even know what brand they are, but apparently they were made in the USA. They're a general brand. They have like inches on one side and centimeters on the other side, and they're amazing because they start at 0. But I'm gonna measure this right now. I'm gonna pull up the fika pattern because I need to know what I'm kind of aiming for gauge. Okay, 25 stitches by 28 rounds on the larger needles. I did do the swatch on 4mm, so we'll see if that hits. It feels really tight. I do think that this sweater is supposed to be like a super dense one, but we will see. I always have a hard time measuring like not stockinette though. So I think when I did this, my swatch was like 30 stitches. So it should be a little smaller than that. Ooh, okay. I think we might have done it. I need a pen. Okay. I'm getting 25.5. I think it's okay. I'm gonna go with it anyways. And then I have to do some math, but I'm pretty sure I had 28 rows and it is 28 rows. So I think the swatch is okay. Because this isn't a test knit, I'm okay with being a little bit more loosey-goosey. Thoughts on this yarn is that it's interesting. It's very... The best word that's coming to mind is dry. It doesn't feel rough per se, but it doesn't feel like super soft and silky either. It just feels very... It feels like a refined fisherman wool. Does that make sense? I don't really know if it does, but it's like not scratchy, but it does feel like it's got a lot of like hardiness to it. Even post blocking, it didn't soften too much. And I will note that this is why you block, or this is why you swatch, but you can see that there's a little bit of like puckering around where my cables are. I'm pretty sure I pulled them a little too tight when I did the crossovers. So that's something for me to keep in mind when I work on this on the actual sweater, because I think that this one is laying pretty flat. You can see here relative to like this one, there's like a divot here because there's not enough room for this cable. So I am going to try to maintain my behind the like crossover a little bit more, so I'm not getting this kind of like puckering, because I would like to have flat looking cables because I think that looks better. I do note that this is a worsted weight, and when I'm doing the crossing, it's a lot of yarn to the point that I usually, when I cable without a cable needle, but I can't do that here because there's just too many stitches and the stitches are too thick. So I am doing that with a cable needle. I was using this one, but I think I'm gonna try to find my double pointed 4mm needle and use that one because that will probably be a little bit easier to handle. This one is just too thin. It slides out when I was doing this, but it was enough for the swatch. But yeah, I'm really happy with the color. I really like this like brownie oatmeal. It's really beautiful. So excited to cast this on. I'll probably cast this one on relatively soon given that I can't start the other one for the time being. And honestly, after I swatched for those two, I really wanted to keep swatching. I find that when I'm swatching, I like to kind of just swatch all at the same time so that when you want to cast something on later, you have all the pre-planned needle and yarn gauge decided on so that you can hit the ground running, you can just start. So I kind of want to swatch for a mini mock neck tank, I think is what it's called, by Jessie Me Designs. I've been wanting to make one for ages. I have a bunch of knitting for olive merino that I want to use to make a tank top. So maybe I'll swatch for that. Last night I was looking at her Instagram and she is celebrating her 42nd birthday and she's giving a sale. So I was like, that seems like a sign to buy this pattern. So I bought that pattern as well as some of the other ones that I was like thinking about doing in the future. I don't think I'll cast all of those swatches on, but maybe I'll swatch for the mini mock neck tank. I think that's what it's called. It's a pretty classic tank. I think it's pretty popular. A lot of people make it. And that would be my first time making a Jessie Me Designs. I've heard amazing things about it. But yeah, that is all I have for you guys today in terms of this kind of low-key swatch. Oh, actually, I'll do an official podcast episode talking about all of this stuff from a more higher level too. But I want to give you guys a sneak peek. Okay, if you guys know about these socks, you'll be excited to know that I finished them. I casted them on in October 2023, and I casted them off yesterday. I was right. It only took me a couple hours to finish them. I've just been carrying them on forever. I made some ankle socks using some Hedgehog fiber sock yarn that I got from Alaska in 2023, and I made them like ankle version. This is the Summerly sock set, I think. Hello Sailor sock set collection in the Guernsey sweater socks. I will admit it wasn't the best use of yarn for this pattern because it features like pearl detailing with some cables on the side, and they're pretty loud socks, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm really happy that I finally finished them, and they're such fun colors. So I need to block them, but that's a little sneak peek to come for the actual podcast. And I've made some progress on some other projects that we'll talk about then. But thank you guys so much for coming along with me in this very, very low-key, just chatty video. I hope you enjoyed coming along for my swatch party, and I hope that you're having a wonderful knitting season too. I am in a really good mood with knitting stuff, and I just have a lot of creative energy, and I'm really trying to channel it. So yeah, but thank you guys again for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.